Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This lecture is a histology of the heart. It is for the second grade of Medical College AL-IRAQIA University. We will describe histologically the layers of the heart. As we know, it is a bulk of muscle, but it consists of several layers. To study them from inside to outside, we say it consists in general of three layers. The inner layer is called the endocardium, and the middle bulk layer is called the myocardium. Then we have the outer layer, which is called the epicardium. Now, each one of them has its own characteristic feature histologically. If we come to describe the endocardium, the lining epithelium of it is of simple squamous endothelium. Okay, while of the epicardium, the lining epithelium of it is of simple squamous mesothelium. دائما الepithelium which is towards a lumen, we describe it as endothelium, while the epithelium which is outside to a cavity, it is described as a mesothelium. Okay, also, while the middle myocardial, the thickest layer, consists of the cardiac cells. طبعا to the outside of the epicardium, we have the pericardial layer, which we know consists of two fibrous, an outer fibrous layer and an inner serous layer. And the serous pericardium consists of the visceral pericardium اللي هو adherent to the epicardium. فالepicardium also can be considered as the visceral pericardium at the same time. طبعا in between راح يصير عندنا the pericardial cavity. Okay, I have two layers, one beneath the epicardium and the other beneath the endocardium. And the two layers بعد consist of loose connective tissue. وحدة جوا endocardium, it will be called subendocardial layer, and the other is below the epicardium, called the subepicardial layer, also loose connective tissue. Why am I interested to give it to you? Because each one of these layers contains a very important structures of the heart. In the subendocardial layer, we will find the presence of the Purkinje fibers, which are very important components of the conducting system of the heart. While in the subepicardial layer, I have the presence of the coronary vessels and the veins. Yani it is positioned there. So that's why these two important layers histologically are important to know its constituents. This هنا مثل ما تشوف طبعا subepicardial layer also is the place where adipose tissue of the heart will be accumulated. يعني the fat of the heart, we will find it in the subepicardial layer. Okay. This also شوفها يعني من نجي هنا, this is the endocardium, this is the subendocardial layer, this is the myocardium, subepicardial layer, بعدين the epicardium with the pericardium above. Okay, if we come to describe the myocardium, يعني so we described the endocardium وقلنا lining epithelium, we described the epicardium, we mentioned the lining epithelium, and we described the two loose connective tissue areas which lies beneath each one of them. If we come to describe the myocardium, it consists mainly of a bulk of the cardiac muscle. We all know the histological feature of the cardiac muscle. You studied it in biology the last year, and we know that it has an important characteristic feature by being multinucleated and branched with the presence of with the presence of the intercalated disc. هذه الميزة اللي تتميز بها the cardiac muscle. This is, as you see, هذا من نشوف cardiac muscle, when you put the myocardial layer under high power magnification power, you will find it multinucleated, branched, with the presence of the Z lines هنسميها intercalated discs in between, which are very important for the impulse conduction. هذه الصورة اللي موجودة يحاول يوضح لك إياها in a diagrammatic way، يعني يحاول يوضح طبعا the endocardium, myocardium and the epicardium. Both يعني these layers are مثل ما نقول the same of the three layers of the vessels. أنت أخذت the three layers of the vessels, tunica, intima, media and adventitia. Tunica intima resembles the endocardium in the heart. Continuous أصلاً وياه. والtunica media resembles the myocardium of the heart. والtunica adventitia resembles the epicardial layer of the heart. Okay. This is also يعني you can find it by this view. نقدر نشوف هيك، شوف تكون branched under this is a slide hematoxylin eosine stain وتشوفها under microscope by يعني هيك بهالطريقة تظهر. هذا myocardium. This is the myocardial layer. This is at higher power of magnification. شوف ال intercalated discs. Now we will come to a subject which is called the fibrous skeleton of the heart. We mentioned it in anatomy, and we said that we will be more precise description we will give you about it in histology. Because of its importance, then, as we said, the cardiac muscle should have a fibrous tissue that it connects to it as origin and insertion. And also the fibrous skeleton of the heart gives us the structural frame of the heart when يعطيني figure of the heart, and it is responsible for the discontinuity between the atrium and the ventricles. الاتريوم لازم تكون بمعزل عن الventricles in حتى تؤدي وظيفتها بالcontraction in systole and diastole. So it will be contracted يعني the atria will be contracted بمعزل عن ventricles. The fibrous skeleton of the heart, if we come to describe it histologically, it consists of three parts. The part number one is called annulus fibrosus. هذين الدوائر اللي تشوفوها الأربعة هذه وهذه. This is called annulus fibrosus. It surrounds the openings of the atrioventricular valves and of the pulmonary and aortic valve. This is the part number one of the skeleton. نيجي. Part number two is called trigonum fibrosum اللي هي resemble حرف D. دي كانت حرف B. هسه نيجي حرف D. It's part of the cusp of the aortic valve. وحتى من تيجي هذه الصورة هنا يعني حتى هو مقسمها إلى left fibrous trigon و right fibrous trigon. أنا ما أسألك على هذني، بس حتى طلعت لك هاي الصورة حتى تتوضح أكثر إنه trigonum fibrosum represents part of the formation of the cusp of the aortic valve, and it is part of the skeleton framework يعني skeleton of the heart. Okay, now we have the other third part, which is called septum membranecium, which represents هذا حرف A, represents the upper part of the interventricular septum. يعني شوف من يجي نشوفه on the heart، هي هنا على الهارت وبعدين مطلعة هنا بوحد حتى يوضح لك إياه. أنا وضحت لك إياه هنا اللي هو بالبداية شكو دائرة هي annuli fibrosi. من نيجي نشوفها on the heart, it is surrounding the two atrioventricular openings هذه وهذا و surrounding the pulmonary and the aortic. زين. وبعدين عندنا trigonum fibrosum, you will find it here, which represents part of the formation of the cusp of the aortic valve. Then we have A اللي هو septum membranecium, you will find it at the upper part of the interventricular septum. This is fibrous connective tissue arranged in this shape. The cardiac muscle of the atria above and the ventricles below will connect to it, originate and insert, and due to its presence, it will يكون مثل الحاجز discontinuity between the atria from the ventricle. This was called the structural framework skeleton, fibrous skeleton of the heart. This is a view how the muscle, cardiac muscle, are arranged in whorls and spirals and يعني originates to returns to insert بهالشكل هذا داير مداير الكارديك skeleton حتى ينطينا this view. طبعا we all know that by cut section, as you see, إنه we can determine easily this is the left ventricle يكون دائما circular while the right ventricle is thinner. left يكون 3 times or 4 times thicker than the right ventricle, and مثل ما نشوف إنه يكون left مدفوع يسبب نوع من convexity toward the right ventricle. The conducting system of the heart, also we study it in anatomy, and it is not different from what we will say now in histology. But I want you to know that if we want to describe it histologically, we say that they are structures formed by modified myocardial cells. The myocardial cells, the cardiac cells, either they are present مثل ما شفتوه بالمايوكارديوم muscle موجود ينطيني البلك of the heart, or some of them يتخصص يفرز هرمونات خصوصا special peptides حتى control the minerals و control the fluid و control the blood pressure of the heart نفسه. Some of the cells will be modified in a way to have the ability for creating impulses, and they are arranged in nodes, SA node, sinoatrial node, or AV node, atrioventricular node, with fibers in between will be called internodal fibers. Then I have the bundle of His, right bundle and left bundle and right bundle branches. Then I have the Purkinje fibers. بالضبط نفس الوصف اللي موجود، بس هنا histologically نقول modified cardiac muscles، ونقول البوزيشن مالته histologically as I mentioned at the beginning of the lecture, it is present in the subendocardial layer. ومن نيجي نشوفها under microscope, when I try to see it under microscope أشوفها بهالشكل هذا. We will find it, it is a cardiac muscle بس يكون larger، والسيلز مالته شوفها هنا همينة عندي view إلها. This is هذا diagram، يعني هذا diagram بس موضح لك إياه. شوف الفرق بين المايوكارديال cells الكاردياك muscle وبين البيركنجي fibers. They are collected together و enlarged، يعني عبالك متضخمة. Okay, and centrally located nuclei تظهر بهالشكل هذا. Purkinje fibers collected together and hypertrophied. This is under light microscope. شوفوا هذا كان diagram، لكن هذا under the microscope نشوفها بهالشكل هذا. Beautiful. You can see it in the slide. You can see it or easily detected. This is regarding the Purkinje fibers. طبعا يعني when we look, this is a cusp، هذا the cusp، immediately إذا نأشر على الكسب ونقول identify، نقدر نقول part of it represents the fibrous skeleton of the heart، لأنه dense connective tissue يختلف عن المصل the other يعني component اللي هو the muscle of the heart. That was a quick review regarding the histology of the heart. Try to illustrate it in this way, and look at the images in the atlas of histology and in the slides of our lab. Thank you very much.